Welcome back, and a bit of a different kind of video today. I get the impression that this channel is turned into a kind of channel about Hat Nhai for Singaporean and Malaysian tourists, and that wasn't the intention. When I started, the intention was to cover all aspects of living in Thailand as an expat, and today's video is about energy costs. And I've been prompted to make this video after watching some really horrendous videos about what's happening in the UK about energy. In April this year, there was a 54% increase. In October, there will be another 80% increase. And in January 2023, potentially another 51% increase. So people who were managing to pay their energy bills at the start of this year are going to have big problems next year. They're even talking about warm banks because so many people won't be able to afford to heat their homes. They'll just go to a public space during the daytime to stay warm. It's just crazy for a supposedly developed country. I don't really want to get into politics, but so many problems in recent years that have caused so much misery for so many people have been because of government policy. I've just had COVID, and the virus itself made me feel unwell for a couple of weeks, but it was temporary. All of the permanent problems weren't caused by the virus, but they were caused by government policy. And it's the same with energy. There's just as much fossil fuel now as there's always been, but because so many countries have now adopted green energy policies, they've closed down fossil fuel production and they've stopped generating electricity from fossil fuels. And they simply can't generate enough electricity from windmills and solar cells. So a lot of European countries are relying on gas from Russia. And when you continually provoke and goad Putin, as they've been doing for so many years, eventually there's going to be a reaction, which there has been. When you push NATO right up to Russian borders and you start building biolabs in Ukraine, Putin's going to get upset. So this whole thing really was predictable and self-inflicted. But getting back to the subject of energy costs, there are some obvious differences between southern Thailand and the UK. The UK is temperate. It gets quite cold certain times of the year, and people need to heat their homes for a significant portion of the year. They also need hot water because of the cold weather. Most Brits heat their homes and their water using a gas boiler, which I don't have. These things use quite a lot of gas, which is why energy prices are set to explode in the UK. In southern Thailand, there's no recognised cool season. It never gets cold, so there's no need to heat the house. And with the water, if you just look at one of my sinks, there's just one tap. And from that tap, you get water that's neither hot nor really cold. It's just tepid. The exception is that we've got 3 showers upstairs, and it's quite uncomfortable in the rainy season taking cold showers, so each shower has an electric water heater. Another big difference between Thailand and rip-off Britain are labour charges. Whenever you get anything installed in Thailand, the biggest part of the cost is what you actually buy. The installation fee is always very cheap. I have a property in the UK, and earlier this year the boiler went wrong. It's about a 30-year-old boiler, so it's done well, but eventually it needed replacing. The boiler itself cost around £700, maybe just over £700. The overall charge for getting it installed was over £2,000, which is absolutely crazy. That just wouldn't happen in Thailand. The only gas we use is for the gas hob for cooking, and that runs on gas from this cylinder. I actually replaced this last week. So when it's empty, you take it to the shop, you give them the empty one, and they give you a full one. And it costs 460 baht. And We probably use 2 of these a year, so less than 1,000 baht a year for cooking gas. Electricity is quite expensive, but most of that is because of air conditioning, which I'll talk about in a minute. We have an electric oven. My wife will sometimes roast a chicken at the weekend or do some baking, but that doesn't get used very much. The dishwasher doesn't get used very much. We have a huge number of lights, both inside and outside the house. I replaced all of these with LEDs some years ago when LEDs started to get popular, and that cost me around 20,000 baht, and I did a count and I think there's about 130 lights. So quite a few lights, and the usual TVs and computers and fans in every room. We don't tend to run AC during the daytime. Normally just ceiling fans and fans will suffice. But at night it gets very, very uncomfortable, so we need air conditioning. And when I had air conditioning units put in the house, I made sure they were the inverter type. Now there seems to be some confusion about inverters. I was talking to a Swiss guy a few years ago who believed that with inverter air conditioners, they could actually blow hot air as well if you lived in Chiang Mai or Chiang Rai or somewhere, but that's not the case. With non-inverter units, they're either fully on or off, and that uses a lot of electricity, and it also means that there's more wear inside from the mechanical parts. With inverter units, they start off running fast. When the temperature is down to where you want it, they just run slowly, and that actually uses less electricity and it means less wear, so they're more reliable and last longer. They're more expensive initially to buy, but the cost saving running them is something like 40%, so in the long term they will actually save money. Regarding prices, I won't convert every Thai baht price into a half a dozen other currencies, but there are lots of online converters available, and at the moment $1 is around 36 Thai baht. So since we moved into this house, the electricity bill has been gradually rising. It started off sort of close to 3,000 baht, and earlier this year it had risen to almost 4,000 baht. When we all had COVID a few months ago, including the kids, they started sleeping in separate rooms. Before that, they were in the same room. So at night, we were just running air conditioners in 2 bedrooms, our room and the kids' room. Now that they're sleeping in separate rooms, we're running air conditioning in 3 rooms, and the bill now is closer to 5,000 baht. Last month it was just under 5,000 baht, and a month before that it was just over 5,000 baht. The water bill is ridiculously cheap. When I lived in the UK, you could choose whether to have a water meter or not, and depending on your situation, sometimes it could save you money by having one, and sometimes by not having one. Here there's no choice, you have to have a water meter. We all shower twice a day, so that's 8 showers a day. The washing machine runs without fail every 2 days and is sometimes used more than that. I have a fish pond, and I change or partially change the water fairly frequently. And I have a sort of a smallish garden, and in the dry spells I water the garden. And despite all the water usage, the bill is never any more than 300 baht. Quite often it's closer to 200 baht. So, you know, water here is just very, very cheap. So I've talked about electricity, which costs me the equivalent of around $130 per month. Cooking gas is a very low $2 per month, and water is also a very low $7 a month. So the only other part of the equation is fuel for my car. My car uses Gasohol 95, which has an octane rating of 95, and it's a mixture of 10% ethanol and petrol. It's a 3 litre V6, so it's quite thirsty, and it returns around 20 miles to the gallon. That's imperial gallons. And again, there's been quite a big fluctuation in price over the last few years. The cheapest I ever paid for 1 litre of Gasohol 95 is 21.42 baht. That was in November of 2020. And the most I've ever paid is 45.92 baht, which was just a few months ago in June of this year. So since then it's gone down slightly. The last time I filled the tank, I was charged 38.32 baht per litre. Obviously the information in this video is particular to me in my personal situation, and it will vary dependent on your personal situation. Sorry again for the political stuff. This wasn't meant to be a rant video, but what's going on politically in the UK, US and other European countries at the moment is making me really angry. If you have any questions, please leave them below, and more videos soon.